I'm Chris from Craven Strange. You're watching Strangerhood TV.
Ashes. Another song that Jim just walked in, played the riff. He played the riff. He played the song and sang it by himself, and we're like. And I remember he was like, he had like writer's block for a while. He didn't write anything for a while, and he came out with this, and we were like, holy shit, it's fucking awesome. And it's definitely a little different from what Craven Strange usually plays. It's, you know, when we recorded it, we've described it all kind of the same way. It takes you on a journey throughout the song, and it's just an awesome song, and probably one of our best songs that we've released to date.
Ashes. That's a personal song. You know, how do I describe Ashes? I really fell in love with a night where we were playing Ashes, and it was an outdoor festival, and there were rides going on and people, you know, talking and chaos, and you know, it was a festival, you know, and the part where it got slow and Jim's, you know, part was just guitar and vocal. And I remember we did it in the studio a couple of times, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know if this is gonna go over live. I don't know if this I don't know how it's gonna go. Like when you write, you walk the fine line of like, when you write a song, you feel something, and you go with it, but there's a fear also in your mind of like, well, I have this feeling, but what if it fails? You know, what if no one likes it? And then you got to get over that hurdle of like, you know, who gives a shit? I'm writing this song because this is what I feel. This is what I'm going through at the time. At that time, when Ashes was being written, I was going through a breakup with my ex-fiance, and I just dove into music. I didn't, you know, I don't know. I ended things, and I had to walk away from things, and I had to burn my past. And Ashes was kind of like one of those tunes where it was like, when it was being written, I felt my past and all these things just like ashes, like just dust, you know, scatter in the ashes. And I felt reborn, you know, especially with the way the solo at the end complemented what Jim did before on his slow part. That was beautiful, that was epic, and the way it was recorded, it was just captured perfectly, you know, to the solo, to the even the beginning main riff, you know, and just all of us coming together. It's like you go from a journey. It's like a journey. It's like the first part of the song is like, you know, okay, you know, and you're on that journey, and then you get to a solo, which is cool, but then you get to a slow part that's like out of nowhere, and it's like the world stops. And when we played that live, I fell in love with this song because that slow part, the rides were quiet, the crowd was quiet, everyone was waiting on everything that Jim was saying on that moment. And then Chris is boom, 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 and we go back into the riff to a solo that just like I wrote during like a little before when COVID hit, and then when COVID hit, I just sat in the basement and just went over and over and over what I was going to play, because I had so much feeling for this song, and I wanted it to be like a good way to end the tune, you know, and we all together, and you know, we all come together at the end. It's like you walk in alone and then you're together. You know, the slow part is the journey alone. The ending, all of us coming together as a band is like, yo man, my brothers are behind me 1,000%. This is my family. This is my guys. This is my crew. And we ended the song and it was just, I don't know. It's very emotional. It's cool tune. Very cool tune.
Ashes. Now, Ashes is a song that I don't think this band has ever done a song like prior. It was just an acoustic song that Jim had wrote, that he brought in, that we were working on to turn electric, and we started out with this great foundation for the song, and it just snowballed from there. And the one thing I like about working with these guys is that there is no such thing as a bad idea. You know, you try something, if it works, it works, if it doesn't, it doesn't, but they don't really, you know, shit on somebody until you try the idea, at least. You know what I mean? Some ideas are bad. Let's face it, some ideas suck. But you don't know it sucks until you try it. And sometimes you could think an idea would suck until you hear it and you're like, wow, that's actually really cool. And with Ashes, on my drum part, you know, and this is the example of Dave. Dave really helped me hone my part on that song. I started out playing that song very, like, overplaying it. Like, I used to have this tendency of writing parts where I would write my part, but I would do it and overplay it. And then after I had my part figured out, I would start to pull back pieces and trim the fat off, so to speak, and just pull out little bits here and there until I had what I wanted. And working with Dave really showed me that a different way of doing it. And you know, I just got into that mindset, and now, like, I'm much happier writing. You know, I had started to experiment with writing simple first and then adding prior to working with Dave, but Dave really, you know, hammered that into my head, like, this is, you know, try and start simple and then add from there. And with Ashes, you know, that was the song that taught me that, and I think the end result is just fantastic. I am so happy with the way that I played on those tracks, and I am so happy with the way that song comes together. That's another song that just gives me goosebumps every time I hear it, and you know, it just has such dynamic to it. You know, the song slowly amps up to this really high part, and then it just dives down and lets Jim singing with a beautiful acoustic riff behind him, you know, when it's just him, and it just gets real quiet, and from there it just turns into this really powerful ending where everybody is just going off and doing their own thing, and it all works. It all works great, and I've never been more proud to be a part of a song than that one. That to me is our masterpiece. That is the song that when people hear that song, and they're going to be talking about the song, no matter how many albums or songs down the road it could be 10 years from now, and I feel like people are still going to be talking about Ashes. I know I will be. It's definitely, out of all three songs, and it is my 100% favorite song that we have, and it is a masterpiece.
Ashes. Ashes is the song that broke me out of a writing slump. I hadn't written any lyrics. I had written very little full music in probably at least a year, maybe a little more. I was having a really hard time finding a direction. I was always the person that if I couldn't write, it was because I wasn't mad or going through enough or feeling enough, so I would like immediately tank my life. I'd ruin whatever relationship I was in. I would get fired from a job. I would do a bunch of drugs. I would do anything to really worsen my situation, to put me in a very horrible mental state so that then I would write, which I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's probably not the most healthy way to do it. I could be wrong, but I think it's probably not. And I reached a point in life where I didn't want to do that anymore. Like, I like my life. I like who I am. I like my living situation. I don't want to live in a van again. I don't want to sleep in the studio again. I don't want to do those things. I worked my way out of those things, and I wasn't ready, and I just didn't feel anymore like that was something. Like, the temptation was there. There was the pull, not really the temptation, but that pull to do it, because you know, when you're angry at yourself, or you're feeling like you're not living up to what you're supposed to do. My job in this band is to write songs. That's my gig. That's my role in this whole thing. Is really, when it boils down to it, if you take away everything else, if you take away the marketing and the websites and the this and that and the other thing, recording, any of that, my only job in this band that I'm like required to do is write songs. That's it. I got to write songs and sing them. And I wasn't doing my job, and that was weighing on me a lot, and I was getting angry about it, and I was getting upset about it, and so that pull was there to kind of like lash out at anything in my life that was good, because those were the things that were keeping me from getting in the mental state to write, because I always felt like I had to be in this horrible state to write in. And Ashes was a moment where I was in my apartment, and I sat down on the couch, and I came up with the riff acoustically, and I started writing down some lyrics, and some of them ended up in the song, some of them didn't. And while I was doing that, I got about halfway through it, and I started messing around and coming up with ideas for Rise, which we had a bass line for, and like a drum beat for, and like as a band we were kind of working musically on that one, but I had nowhere to go with it. So Ashes was like that catalyst. Once I started to find my footing as a writer in finding another way to be angry or deal with something, that started to let me be able to write again. Now, Ashes is another song that, through the process of recording and the process of where we are in the world and watching things happen and being a part of things that are happening, it changed. It changed, and I found all of that anger and all of that, all of those really, really aggressive feelings, and aggressive doesn't always mean hard, but all of that I found in looking at things through my eyes and also trying to look at things through the eyes of other people, and so that then altered what the song was about again, to where, you know, lyrics were changed while I was singing them in the studio because I felt something different, and it meant something different to me, and I found better ways to say things, and that, as a writer, what I'm doing, I'm wandering through life trying to find better ways to say things, and this turned into that for me. And then, experience that we were having recording it and turning it into its own thing, all these experimental ideas started happening. We really have a lot of freedom in this band to try things, and so Ashes became this orchestra of emotion. When, if you notice when you're listening to it, when there's something that's harsh that's happening, there's something that's very melodic and beautiful happening behind it. And when there's something that drops to a very like deep emotion and it gets really raw, we wanted to make the song very raw. And when it gets chaotic, there's a bunch of things that are making it chaotic, but then there's order and there's beauty in there and there's anger and there's rage in there, and it's kind of like this little world that's encompassing, if I can say words, writer, all those emotions and all those things at the same time. So Ashes became a little bit of that for me as well. Is I feel like it has the rage that Rise has without it being overt. It has the melody and the upliftingness of Say It All without it being overt. And it's in your face while also getting stuck in the back of your head. And that's kind of what we're going for. So that's Ashes to me, with once again not telling you what I wrote it about. What does it mean to you? It doesn't matter what it means to me. Who cares? I mean, if you're watching this, that's awesome, and I appreciate that you're interested. But man, what's important is what it means to you. So I don't know. You tell me. Write us an email or a letter. Snail mail us. I'd love to hear what you think of it. So you should stay tuned, like and subscribe on all my things. YouTube, website, creamandstrange.net. Where are you watching this? I mean, if you're on the YouTube, and you're not subscribed, I think it's on this side. I think it's on this side. So, yeah, press it. What are you doing? Why wouldn't you? You're watching this. Follow us. Write us. Join us. Welcome to Strangerhood.